So I'm able to write these stories because I have time on my side. Robert Caro says time equals truth. So maybe she didn't want to talk to me in 1991. She begrudgingly let me do a restaurant feature. Then I started just spending time there. And sometimes I was thinking, yeah, maybe she'll let me do the story. But it just became, I have these places in town, or people in town that I call my story beacons. They're people who they can lead me to other people in the community. And at the time in the early 90s, in newspapers across the country, diversity was a big push. I mean, newspapers were much better staffed then. And I had this fantastic first editor. Her name was Wendy Zamparelli, who was tough as nails. And the paper was sending a lot of emphasis on having more black editors, more black reporters, and doing stories that more accurately reflected the diversity in our community. And so that if I was writing a general story about something, and Roanoke has a 23% black population, if one of my four sources in a four-source story was an African American, she would send it back. And so that was like great training for a young journalist. I'm not sure papers have the resources to do that now. But that was wonderful training, and that's what led me to a beat that the paper called, I was the family's beat reporter. But really what I did is I had been trained to work outside of my zip code and to be getting stories that nobody else really had the entrees into, because I had spent time with immigrants, refugees, caregivers for the elderly, veterans with PTSD, and I had really kind of made my beat. And so one of my favorite characters in the book is he passed away recently, but he's A.L. Holland. He was a distant Muse relative. He was a civil rights leader in Roanoke, and he was an 11-year-old boy in 1927 when Harriet Muse got her sons back. And his job after school was he would help a blind man sell brooms on the city market that he made. And so he had this wonderful, like, kind of insider view to the story, and he was there when they came home that night. And so he's 98 when I interview him for this book, but I knew him because I had done numerous articles on him before. And so I just think because I had made those connections in the community, I was able to get people to trust me. But it was really the time, the fact that I'm still there. These are my people. I know them, and they trust me.